Hello, what's up? Happy President's Day. What better way to celebrate President's Day than to get your dumpling on? So we're going to be making the filling that goes in the dumpling. Step one, pick your jam. I'm feeling a little jazzy today, so I put on some Dave Brubeck. I'm going to bring the volume down a little bit because it's a little loud. Alright, so I've got myself ready here. This is my cutting board. I've got my ginger, I've got some green onion, and I pulled out my sauces. Okay, so I've got, you're going to want your soy sauce, your sesame oil, oyster sauce, and salt, a couple bowls, and then your ground pork. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is chop my ginger. You can peel it if you want, but you don't have to. You can just give it a little wash. And then you want to slice it. Okay, so we're going to slice it like so. Let me bring the camera down so you can see better. Alright, so you just want to slice it thin. Okay, and then bring it this way. Alright, so now you got your ginger, and you want to put it in one of your prepared bowls. Okay, then you want to take some green onion. Here's a pro tip: if you cut off the end, you can regrow your green onion. This is something my mom does. And so this is my little green onion garden. Keep it in the windowsill, sometimes in the fridge. Alright, so you want to chop the green onion, and we're just going to use the bottom half. If you have like nice fat green onion, that's even better. So you want this kind of the white part of it, and I'm just going to chopping it like this. How many green onions? So none of what I'm doing today is going to be super exact. I don't know, like you kind of want to keep it proportional to however much ginger you have. So I took off just a little chunk of ginger before, and then just like a couple of those green onions were good enough for me. So I'm going to call that good. And you're going to want to get some hot water. You could also put this in a pot and boil it, but I have a little hot water boiler, so I'm going to pour some hot water in here. Okay, so just want to cover it. How much hot water? Again, I don't know, not an exact not an exact science here. Just want to cover it, and then you're just going to let it sit. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. In the meantime, I'm going to get my other bowl, and we are going to measure out the sauce. Okay, so you want to get like a little spoon. I guess this is about a tablespoon. If you have dark soy sauce, you can get that out too. I don't have it, and it's not the biggest deal in the world if you don't, so you can skip it. But if you do have regular soy sauce or light soy sauce, add 2 tablespoons of that. And then here, if you have dark soy sauce, add another tablespoon of dark soy sauce. I don't, so I'm just going to add some more of this regular, well, this is low sodium soy sauce. Okay, and then you want a tablespoon of oyster sauce. Whoop. And then just a little dash of salt. Now, if you have white ground pepper, you should add that here too. I don't have that, and also I don't want to add white pepper because I don't know if Leo's going to like it. So I'm going to skip that step. But if you have it, go ahead and add it here. All right, now we're going to add this to our meat. all of it in there. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, and now we're going to just stir this in. And you don't have to be super thorough because we're going to do a bit more stirring after we add that ginger scallion juice. So I'm just mixing it a little bit. Alright, so with this ginger scallion juice, so it's in this hot water, so after it cools down a little bit, what you want to do is just sort of massage the stuff in there. Well, this is still a little bit hot. So you might wait a little bit before you do this. My fingers are like boiling a little bit. You want to pinch, pinch, pinch. Now some people also add, to give it more flavor, if you have star anise and Chinese peppercorns, you can also add that into your scallion ginger juice, and it just gives everything like a little bit more flavor. I don't have that stuff in my kitchen, so I'm not adding it. And the reason why we do this is we don't want to add the ginger and the scallions directly because the flavor can be quite strong. And even though some people really like biting into some ginger, it is also maybe a little bit too much for some people. So the other way to do this is to just get the flavor and the juice of the ginger and scallion in there. And so that's why we're trying to kind of extract the yummy flavors of ginger and scallion without actually having to directly add them in there. Okay, so once we get this all nice and juiced, okay, and some people actually wear a glove. Maybe that's like more sanitary, but you guys aren't getting that version today. All right, so once you have your juice and you're like satisfied with like how juicy it is, get a strainer and you want to pour it in here. And oops, I poured it all in there. But ideally what you want to do is pour a little bit at a time, and then you want to stir that into your meat. Okay, so they say you want to kind of like use the same direction, and I use chopsticks. If you have chopsticks at home, then that's great. Otherwise, like a spatula or something. But chopsticks are really the best for getting in all the different parts of it. So I'm moving this in a circular motion, and you can see that as I'm mixing it, the pork is getting like more moist. It kind of started out like super stiff, and as you add that moisture in there, it's becoming like fluffier, and the pork is becoming like kind of stringy. So that's what you want. You want it to become like kind of fluffy and stringy. Okay. And I have a little bit more juice in here, so kind of want to add it a little bit at a time. Oh, this is looking good. Looking good. Okay. Alright, so this is looking good, and I'm going to top it off with a little bit of sesame oil. So again, like not a whole lot. You just kind of want to drizzle it on, right? So, can you see? Sorry, I'm not a YouTube professional. So a little bit of sesame oil in there, and now this is going to be super moist and yummy. Okay, so at this point, you can put a cover on your pork and put it in the fridge. And while you do that, you can either stop here and just, you know, this is what you wrap, or you can add either the Chinese leek or the Chinese cabbage. And I'm gonna show you both those steps next. Hello, all right, so now we can add our Napa cabbage or the leek. But before we do that, I want to mention that remember that ginger and green onion juice that we've made earlier? So there's still life left in those ingredients. So I actually threw them into my pot with some chicken. Sorry, Aaron. Chicken to make some chicken broth, and it gives the chicken broth like some really nice flavors and aroma. So yeah, like think of a creative way to use that stuff because there's still life in those things. Okay, so I'm going to show you the Napa cabbage ingredient, how to prepare that. So the difference between Napa cabbage and those Chinese leeks, the Napa cabbage doesn't have a strong taste. It's almost kind of like a lettuce. So it doesn't really add much flavor, but I think it just adds a little bit of body to your dumpling filling. The Chinese leeks, though, have a very strong flavor. I'm struggling to think of a way to describe them. They're almost like a green onion, but they're also called chives, Chinese chives, and I think they're super yummy. And you can add either of them to the pork filling, and it makes it really yummy. Okay, so to prepare the Napa cabbage, first you want to peel off the outside layers because those are probably dirty from traveling from whatever farm they're at to your kitchen. And then I just rinsed the rest of it, okay? And then I'm going to chop this one in half. Okay, and then you see this little stem part here. I just remove that, take that out. All right, so I used to cook with the whole thing, but my mom recently told me that she saw a recipe where they recommended that you only use the leaf part and don't use this rib. I think the reason for that is the rib actually has a lot of water in it, kind of the same way when you're cooking with kale or chard. The stem is pretty hard and actually requires like some different or extra cooking. So I'm gonna try that for today. I'm gonna use my mom's method of just using the leaf, and I'm noticing that this guy needs a little bit more rinsing, so I would, go ahead and peel off however many leaves you think you're going to use. Give it a good wash. And then I'm going to de-rib them. So okay, now again, of course, you don't want to throw any of this stuff away, like it's still edible, right? So that chicken soup that I'm making, I'm actually going to chop this up and throw it in there, and that's going to be like some yummy chicken soup. And remember how we were just using the bottoms of those green onions before? Like, again, don't throw away those tops. Like, you can still use these. So, yeah, save these guys and put them aside. You can always chop them, use them for garnish for your dumplings or for something else. Okay, so, like, you want to probably, like, this is a small Napa cabbage, but I'm probably going to go ahead and devein this whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and meet you guys on the other end. Alright, so I de-ribbed all my Napa cabbage, and now I'm just going to chop it up. So if you have a food processor, then use that. I do not, so I'm just going to hand chop it, and you just want to, like, chop it as fine as possible. So, like, I just line mine up, and I just go to town, chop, 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 until it's, like, small chopped pieces. Even smaller than this, if you can get it. So, yeah, just go ahead and chop up all your Napa cabbage. And if you have a leek, you basically want to do the same thing. Leeks are a little bit easier to prepare because they're already straight. Or sorry, those Chinese chives. So you just line them up and you just chop them to like a fine pieces. Alright, so go ahead and do this. And I recommend putting your chopped Napa cabbage in a bowl. So I'm going to put them in back in this bowl after they're all chopped. Okay, see you on the other side. So after you've chopped up your Napa cabbage, you want to get your salt and put some salt in there. And then mix it up. And then just let it sit. So the salt is going to extract out the water. And then we're going to, after that water comes out, we're going to squish the water out. Okay, so now you have your Napa cabbage is sweated, so it feels a little soggy. So what I do is I just grab a clump and I just squeeze the water out of it. And just do that until you have squeezed most of the water out. Now it doesn't have to get like totally dried out. It's okay to still have some of that moisture in there. Okay, great. And now we can add this back to our pork mixture. Okay, so I've added my Napa cabbage back to my pork, and now I'm just gonna mix it in again with my chopsticks and moving in that circular motion. Oh, it's smelling so good. Okay, so after this is all mixed in, you can actually leave it to just hang out in the fridge overnight. So I would cover it with saran wrap and yeah, just let it chill, literally. And then tomorrow we'll wrap dumplings. Bye.